will be many memorials to the memory of Bob Wallach around this racetrack today, with a packed house once again. For the 49th time, the best sports cars in the world are ready to take to this very difficult racetrack. Now let's meet our pit reporters, beginning with Calvin Fish.
Bob, Audi today will be going for their 10th straight win in ALMS competition, and they've returned to their winning lineup at Sebring last year and Le Mans, with Tom Christensen jumping out of the #1 car over to the #2 machine, joining Frank Bieler and Emanuele Pirro. Now, if Christensen wins here today, he'll join Belgian Olivier Jean-Debier and the only man to ever win 3 straight here at Sebring. Now, Audi have really stacked the deck. Not only do we have an Audi on the pole, we also have another Yost Audi on the front row with Ronaldo Capello starting that car. 2 customer cars in the field. We've got the champion Audi, which we saw at Texas, having a strong run here also, and a brand new entry for Stefan Johansson in the beautiful Gulf livery, bringing back memories of that 69 win and the GT40 in 1969. John Field had a great run in the Lola, qualified 5th, and the Panos has been struggling. Had a lot of promise at Texas, but really struggling here in the bumps at Sebring. Brand new car for Team Dyson, Riley and Scott Mark III, trying to make it smart. Now joining me today in pit lane is Andrew Marriott. He has more on the battle in GTS.
Yeah, thanks. Well, you're looking at the smiling face of Steve Saleen, because his car, a big surprise here, is on the pole. A great performance in qualifying by Oliver Gavin. He only did a few laps in the car with a sprint, came here, put it on the pole and beat the Corvettes. The Corvettes have never won here. Previously, of course, they've had to race against the Vipers, but the Vipers are not here anymore with the Eureka team. So here in GTS, we're going to have a great battle. Up to you in the booth.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Stay safe down there in pit lane. We also expect a terrific battle in GT. There's the number 23 Porsche starting 13th. It'll be started by Sasha Massen, sharing with Lucas Luhr and Emmanuel Collard. Le Mans winners, a great driver lineup, going for Porsche's possible 44th class victory here at Sebring. But they will have stiff competition in class from BMW, who have rolled out a German-built 4-liter V8 for their M3s. There is one of them along with 3 of the straight 6 machines. There you see the V8 in the hands of former Formula 1 star JJ Leto. They will start in the 15th. Frederick Ekblom. As you take a look down through the rest of the field, 38 strong, a very, very strong lineup, and we expect particularly good battles in GT as well as the LMP 900 class. 9 prototypes in all, not counting that solo entry in the LMP 675 class. 5 of the big production-based GTS machines and 23 GT cars, Porsches, BMWs, and 1 lone Le Mans legal Corvette from Trinkler Racing. We're ready for the start. Here's a look at one of the onboard cameras. We'll have many of them throughout the field. This is in the Audi, starting on the outside of the front row. You hear the car laboring under those low revs as they head through Sunset.
Well, these cars hate to go slow, and they only really like to go fast. Look at that armada of Audis. The 2 factory cars on the front row, the 2 customer cars on row 2. Audi has really stacked the deck here at Sebring.
The field is set, and now one of the most familiar vistas in all of motorsports. The start-finish at Sebring. We're underway, and the Audis surge out front. Turn 1. Honchta calls this one of the most difficult corners in all of worldwide racing. Very fast, very... Your emails on the air, or perhaps on our eSlam speed line right on the screen. So fire up the computer and get online with us here at Sebring. Now here's the bulk of the GT field. Saw the 2 Porsches go by, followed by that brilliant blue and white number 42 Ford. Let's move back into the GT field. This is the number 10 BMW, one of the prototype technology group straight 6 BMW M3s that have been so successful in GT competition over the last 2 or 3 seasons. This is Bill Auberlen at the controls.
And these PTG cars, which are run by Tom Milner's shop in Virginia, will become V8 powered cars. But for now, they're running the old configuration, the inline 6, and there's going to be a fantastic rivalry this year between the Schnitzer-based team, which of course is big.
Out to the leader in the GT class. This is the front 3. This is all 4 position. The 2 Alex Job Porsches and that V8 BMW M3 being driven by JJ Leto. Porsche 911 GT3 RS. 400 horsepower. lot of these cars being raced in America. Slight improvements from the previous model, the GT3R.
Yeah, and all of the GT3R cars have been updated to S specification. But the big news really are these V8 BMWs, and especially these European-based Schnitzer cars. That is the car there, the first of the V8 cars to run in the LMS. JJ Leto, of course, JJ Leto and Jörg Müller ran in the in the prototype class last year in the factory BMW V12.
Of course, it doesn't seem to be very Sebring friendly. It doesn't like the bumps, but it will be interesting to see if they can eke out a little bit more fuel with that Zytec engine than the Audis. We're watching, but meanwhile, just to repeat, the draft car is behind the wall with an alternator problem.
And guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was an alternator problem that they had initially when they went with the car to Adelaide. They had a problem with the alternator drive.
As Andrew pointed out, that was not the Magnussen Brabham car, but the Klaus Graf Walter Salis entry. So we'll keep tabs on that. Right now, there is that beautiful new JJ Leto driven BMW M3 with a 4-liter short-stroke V8. Great car. There'll be more of them coming in American Le Mans Series racing. We'll be back to Florida.
Le Mans in the year 2000, you know you've got a good race car, and there will be times when you will beat those factory cars.
And the two customer Audis here get tremendous support. In fact, the factory will not allow the team to fire up the engine without one of the factory engineers standing by to manage the ECU, the engine management electronics.
These cars, of course, have the paddle shift on the steering wheel, much like a Formula One car, which really helps these drivers physically. It means you can keep both hands on the wheel and really use both hands to help you stabilize your car. And of course, they don't use the clutch, so the left foot can stay planted on the dead pedal down on the floor to help you brace your body. So physically, it helps you a great deal.
You saw Capella go sailing by the GT class leader, who is now JJ Leto in that V8 BMW. Andrew Marriott has more on the Audi.
Yeah, well, the situation you mentioned, the ECU, that they can't start the cars without the Audi engineers. In fact, they actually take the ECU away and put it in their briefcase and take it back to Germany. And the same, believe it or not, with the shockers and springs, I understand. They're taken off the car. That's what I understand. So they are really controlling these cars very closely. And of course, they're very aware they've got two top teams running them. I think particularly at Le Mans, they'll give them even more help because, you know, they're looking for an Audi 1, 2, 3, 4 there. But of course, at Le Mans, we can have some other people really making it difficult for Audi. I think it's going to be one of the most competitive 24-hour races for a long time. Just a quick update on the Saline. I'm down in the Saline pit at the moment. Just talked to Franz Conrad. He's very, very happy indeed. I said, can the
car out as fast as it'll go?
Well, you know, I think the days of that, Bob, are not maybe not long gone, but certainly past, because endurance racing has not hard to light up those rear tires when they're cold. There is the PTG BMW.
Bill Auberlen has climbed out of the number 10. This is Nicholas Johnson taking over. Young Swede in his first season with the team. They're joined in this team by Joey Hand, graduate of the karting ranks, just 20 years of age. Here's the number 42 BMW. This is the V8 car, the class leader in GT. JJ Leto of Finland climbs out, pitting from 10th spot in the overall. His teammate Jörg Müller will climb in. Andrew Marriott is there.
Indeed, yes, Jörg Müller has climbed in. He's being strapped in by JJ Leto. The number 42 car, that famous number, of course, that's the number they ran on the prototype BMWs. Now, this is the new V8 engine designed by BMW. And interestingly, after just an hour, it's stopping. We expect those Porsches to go an hour and 20 minutes. So this could be something that will hurt this BMW. Their gas mileage does not look as good as the Porsche. It's coming up on the air jacks now, and the rear air jack very slow to go up. And the tyres are now coming off. They're running on Michelins, of course. And Jörg Müller is all ready to go. The man who did so much of the test mileage for Michelin in the Williams car last year. So Jörg Müller, he's an all-rounded driver here. And he's very aggressive on the racetrack. Of course, remember last year in the prototypes, he punted some of the GT cars off in a spectacular fashion. I understand there's a few people might be targeting the rear of this particular car in the prototypes. So incidentally, yeah, down here, everything is calm, of course. This is Schnitzer at their best, and we'll see that car go out. We're going to watch the gas mileage on this car, because as I said, only an hour between pit stops with this brand new V8 engine.
Michelin tires on the Schnitzer cars, Yokohama's on the PTG machines.
And we need to clear something up, because I know there are a lot of people, and we saw a lot of emails when we had one of the kind of prototype V8 M3s at Daytona when we did the 24-hour race. There are a lot of our emails are about this car and about why BMW is allowed to run a V8 engine in M3 when you can't buy one on the street. And essentially the rules are that as long as it is an engine made by that particular manufacturer, you can put it in the car. And that is essentially what BMW is trying to do here.
Celine is another example of a car. You mentioned earlier they've come out with a race car. Before they've come out with a street car. That's not traditionally the GT way of doing things.
And as far as I know, there are no plans to make a V8 powered M3. Certainly BMW has not talked about it.
Welcome back to a hot and humid Sebring 12 hours, and nobody is hotter or more humid than JJ Letter. JJ, really hot in that cockpit.
It's very hot because, you know, we don't have any driver cooling. We didn't have time to sort out everything. You know, the car is so new, and we are just trying to, you know, drive it and do a test race here. So it's going pretty well so far. You know, we, you know, the whole BMW Motorsport team, they've been working really hard, you know, the last 3 nights to get the car ready, and they have been chasing so many parts and things, you know, the car all the time. And, you know, we have very limited with the testing miles. So, you know, at the moment everything looks good. The car is good to drive. You know, it's we're trying to go as fast as we can, keep up with the Porsches. So we will see. It's a good fight. It will be a very good fight with the Porsches at the moment. So hopefully we can keep it up like that for 12 hours.
I was a little surprised you stopped after an hour. Can the car go longer on the fuel?
Well, you know, we are not still perfect with the car. You know, we have a lot of things to sort out, and we are just trying to, you know, make sure that everything runs smooth. You know, so we want to check the things a little bit earlier just to see that we are on the right road.
He's usually pretty cool, but he isn't today. Back to you in the booth.
A benign growth was removed from David Murray's kidneys. That's why he missed the season opener 2 weeks ago in Texas. Meanwhile, at the 43 BMW pit, this is one of the straight 6 versions of the car. Dirk Mueller and Frederick Ekblom.
And that is Frederick, who just got in the car there. And it looks like they've buttoned up the tires. Again, I'm a little bit surprised to see these GT cars changing tires. Normally, with a less powerful GT car, you can get away with double stinting on tires. It's surprising. I mean, it's the Audis, the most powerful cars, that are having trouble, or excuse me, that are double stinting on their tires. And look at Frederick being felt like this Corvette is holding him up a little bit, leaving the pit lane.
There's smoke from that Corvette. That is the GT Corvette from Trinkler Racing. Owen Trinkler, a terrific young driver in that car. That is basically a family operation. A Pratt and Miller chassis with a Corvette engine in the thing. This car has been homologated for Le Mans. If he knows the turn signal is on, if there was ever proof it's a production-based car, there it is.
Well, these cars do have turn signals on them, and he would have used that to come into the pit lane. It's just not been shut off.
Well, he'll probably get the little chime shortly that'll be telling him his turn signal is still on. Class leaders going to break. Ronaldo Capello in LMP 900, Claudia Hurtgen, Mueller, and Borcheller. We are back at Sebring with highlights of the first of 12 hours of live coverage. The race began in warm, humid conditions. Frank Vila leading the way in the beautiful new Infineon Audi R8 factory car. The lead was soon taken over, however, by the #1 car in the hand of his teammate Ronaldo Capello. Leading the GT class, the new 4-liter BMW V8 for JJ Leto. Problems for the home team, if you will. Klaus Graf took one of the new LMP 07 Patos behind the wall. And then when the fuel valve on the hose did not close, David Brabham abandoned the other car in the pit lane with fuel everywhere. Heat and humidity has been the problem for the drivers thus far. Shane Lewis right there suffered in his Callaway GT class Corvette. That's where we are right now. Here is Frank Vila passing that V8 BMW. We're having a problem with our timing and scoring at the moment. We're trying to get the class order just right. Meanwhile, let's get to the pit lane and Andrew Marriott.
Well, I'm with Dirk Muller, and Dirk's just done his first session with the BMW. How different was it to racing the Porsche, Dirk?
I mean, first of all, it's really, really tough over here, and BMW and especially Schnitzer prepared the car very well. And driving is actually not that big difference, but you know, I'm in the 2000 car, and the car is reliable. The only goal we do have is to finish really in a high ranking after the 12-hour race, and there's no need for pushing at the moment. I really enjoyed that first stint with the Milner, and my Michelin tires were great.
How fresh do you feel? Because JJ Leto got out, he was very, very hot, but of course that V8 powered car isn't fully developed yet.
For sure. I mean, I'm not looking like my grandma wants me to look like, but you know, I'm really totally wet, but I feel really great. Our doctor is taking care of us, and I drank maybe 6 liters before my first stint, but it's all coming out, so I'm sweating a lot, but it's good. I'm feeling great.
Great. Fresh as a daisy, here's Dirk Muller.
On board with the number 10 BMW just ahead. Look at the difference in speed between the GT class cars and the big prototypes. Amazing. Well, once it gets dark, that's going to become critical.
And watch him disappear here as they head out onto the Auberlen straightaway. The Audi will just become a dot down that straightaway. And by no means are these M3s slow. These are very, very quick race cars, but it gives you some great perspective on how quick that Audi actually is. The BMW is still accelerating. The Audi's disappeared into the final corner.
The Audi has the benefit of greater horsepower and massive downforce.
These cars will shortly make a very different sound. That is the distinctive sound of an inline six. And there's nothing quite like an inline six, but of course, the V8's making more power. I did see, though, when we're looking at that 42 car, a lot of black smoke out of the pipe on that car, and that might explain why they had to stop so early. Fuel efficiency is clearly a problem, and when you've got black smoke coming out of the pipe, that means there's a lot of unburnt fuel there.
Running rich.
These six-cylinder powered M3s have served BMW so well. The last number of years, last 5 or 6 years, they've fought very hard with Porsche in the GT classes. Oh, he's going to drive it off the road.
All credit to Tom Milner and the Prototype Technology Group. These cars weren't that.
Well, welcome back to Sebring. What a fantastic battle that has developed here in the GT class. This is the battle for the lead in GT. The number 42 BMW has caught the number 23 Porsche and has been looking for a way around this car for the last lap or so.
Yeah, that's right. It's really very exciting stuff, this. It's like a mini battle going on here, and that BMW is acquitting itself, I think, very well, because it's got a factory-built engine in it this time. We saw at Daytona it did not have a factory-built engine. It was kind of a road engine souped up, but they're driving it beautifully. And look at this. This is what the racing's all about. Some decent competition going on here.
What I've loved about this battle over the years between these 911s and these M3s is that these cars are so different. The 911, of course, essentially a design that is about 40 years old. Rear engine, of course, it does have a transaxle in it, but very different from the front engine, rear-wheel drive BMW. Just so different, these cars, night and day.
If you were talking about balance, though, earlier, and what we're looking at here is the car leading the 911 is perhaps the world's best balanced rear-engine car. We all know that. But the BMW has really caught up. They've produced a very, very nice, all-over, easy-to-drive package with all the things that a race driver looks for. Plenty of torque, great brakes, a really nicely balanced car. And the proof of this is in what we're seeing now.
Look at this.
Battle for the lead in the GT class. Mueller gets the inside line, drives Lure off the point, takes over the position.
Nicely set up pass. That all happened back at the hairpin. You saw the Porsche was wide of the apex in the hairpin. The BMW perfectly on line, came off the hairpin with better exit speed. That all started back in the hairpin.
Two superb drivers right there. Let's get quickly to the pit lane and Andrew on the track. Now here's Nicholas Johnson in the number 10 BMW. He's been on and off the track in the last lap. the helmet he's wearing, he's probably the only driver at the track who is a certified factory technician for a helmet company. Stand 21 makes safety gear. He wears a Stand helmet, he can fix yours if it's broken. Here's what happened to him a few moments ago. These are the S's down at the old hairpin.
Went to the throttle a little bit early there, spun it, spun back to the inside. The car's going around the outside of him there. Looks like no major damage, maybe a little bit of front body damage there going off-road.
Yeah, they're getting a lot of marbles laid down now. This is typical at this stage of the race. Cars going off the curb, spreading the marbles around. They can catch you out real quick, as we all know.
Another H-pattern gearbox.
This is exactly what's going on. It's the next best thing to being there, really.
There's the number 42. First place car in GT. Jordan Mueller brings the car in. Looks like he'll get out and JJ Leto will get back in.
Well, this is one of the teams running just 2 drivers, so often when you're running 2 drivers, it's easier just to change more often. You stay a little bit fresher doing it that way. If you wear yourself out, if you overdo it, if you overexert yourself, it's tougher to recover from that. So if you stay a little bit on the fresher side, it's easier to stay that way.
You remember when Leto drove the BMW prototypes, he had to have all that massaging on his wrists last year and then ended up being bandaged up and everything. So interesting what he has to say about how this car handles and how driver-friendly the actual handling of the car is. This is a works effort, of course, let's not forget that, whereas the Porsches they're up against are privately entered.
Problem with the left rear wheel there.
And again, you can see this is only their second stop, and they're changing tires again. They changed on the first stop, and because you're only allowed 2 air guns, these tire changes take quite a bit of time.
The GT Porsches goes by. Ooh, lighting up the right side tires. They launch onto the backstretch. Oh boy. 58 car being shared by Wolfgang Kaufmann and Stefan Ortelli.
Let's not forget with these Porsches as well, what's quite magnificent about those GT3 cars, you can go and buy one, have all the support and spares you need. All you need is money.
Oh boy. Look at the fluid coming out off the front of the car. There's some fluid on the front of that car, so that car looks like it's done.
The number 10 BMW, one of the prototype technology group cars. Bill Auberlen shown at the wheel.
I think that's thrown a hose. That looks like steam. It is steam, so it's thrown a hose, boiled up, or done its gaskets, pressurized the water system.
Unfortunately, where he is there is very inaccessible. If they come and haul him in, that's great, but they might not. I've seen them leave cars there in the past, which means even if it's just lost its water, the crew is not going to be able to get to that car.
Down in turn 16 at the head of the Ullman straightaway, the backstretch. Auberlen talking with the crew. Sebring is one of the unique racetracks in the world where everything happens on the interior of the track, including the entire crowd, the pits, and what have you. Bill Auberlen is outside. Class leading machine. Christian Menzel of Germany driving the number 22. There's Bill Auberlen once again. Let's get on board with him moments ago. See if we can figure out what happened.
Something hit that car. Did you see that little shutter?
Yeah.
I'm convinced something hit that car right there.
Well, he pulled straight off. I mean, there's no question of, uh-oh, there's all the smoke.
I mean, it might have blown up, but there was.
I think it was a blow up.
See the fluid on the ground. I don't see any damage to the front of the car.
Yeah, well, that's true.
I think what we saw probably was a reversal in the engine as it started to seize up, or something of that nature.
It might have been that too.
He was revving it. That was revving that engine. You could hear some good revs coming out of it. And I think he's picked up something nasty that's flown out of the engine.
Well, I think he's figured out now that no one's going to come. And he had about a minute 26 lead when he came to the pit lane. So depending on what they do tire-wise, they may lose the lead here. No, they are going to get out of the pit lane and maintain that lead without a big problem.
never mistake the engine note of the flat six Porsche. 3.6 liter, normally aspirated, water-cooled cars. I believe that's Randy Popes on his way out. Welcome back live to our continuing Speed Vision live flag-to-flag coverage of the 12 Hours at Sebring. There is the new leader in the GT category, J.J. Leto, in that German-built BMW M3 with a 4-liter V8 engine. A very unique race car, not the 5-liter displacement we saw in the PTG prototype BMW that was rolled out at the Rolex 24 at Daytona. This is the German version of the car that eventually will equip all of the BMW runners in the GT class. You see him coming up behind one of the earlier versions of the car with the straight six. They've taken over from the Porsches, which have just cycled through the pits. While we're talking about BMWs, we've got one of their experts in the booth with us now. Boris Said, how was your first stint out there?
That wasn't too bad. It was a lot hotter in there than it is up here. But you know, you forgot to mention those are the ultimate driving machines right there.
That's your job, Boris.
Thank you for catching me up on that. How are the cars? I mean, are the PTG cars truly at the end of their development in your view?
Well, the car isn't at the end of the development, just the motor is. I mean, you know, when Porsche came out with that big engine car 2 years ago, we were just short on speed down the straightaway. Now, you know, we took an M5 engine and put it in our car at Daytona, and that pretty much remedied that situation.
Boris, I have to ask you about this situation with the Schnitzer team here and the PTG team here. I mean, there has to be a rivalry that is going to develop between these two teams.
Yeah, I mean, there's no more rivalry than you have with your teammates. I mean, you want to beat your teammates, you want to beat every other car on the track, but there's definitely a little American versus German kind of game going on.
And what is BMW's thinking with that? I mean, PTG has served BMW in North America so...
in the 50s and 60s and raced. Do you think about that at all? The fact that your dad was here before you?
Yeah, I mean, I actually grew up never knowing my dad. I actually met him a few years ago. So, I mean, you kind of think about it that I ended up doing the same thing he did without ever knowing he did it. So, you know, sometimes you think it is in your genes.
How far can you develop this new BMW, do you reckon? I mean, will it come to dominate the class the way the previous car did?
Absolutely, I hope so. I mean, that's our plan and that's my intention. But, I mean, the chassis is pretty good right now. I think we brake better than anybody out there. And in the slow to medium speed corners, we can corner as good as anyone. I mean, the BMW is the ultimate driving machine, so we just need the straightaway speed.
Do you think BMW will sell these cars to private entrants when you guys get it all sorted out, just the way Porsche have? I mean, develop a client base?
I think they'll do 1 year like this, develop them, and I think next year they'll offer them for sale. I'm sure they will, because I'm sure people are going to want them.
Well, I mean, that has been the strength of the Porsche is that even if the cars are turning identical lap times, there's maybe 2, 3, or 4 of the BMWs and 20 Porsches or 18 Porsches or whatever it is, and the strength in those numbers is so significant.
Yeah, I mean, with the strength in numbers, you can develop the car faster, and you can just get the car better and better and better quicker. So I'm sure BMW is going to want to do that too, and I'm sure people are going to want the car because it's such a fantastic car.
On board with Dirk Mueller right now, currently shown 4th in class behind J.J. Leto in the sister car to this one, and the 2 911 Porsches. Those look awfully clean for having been involved in a race as long as this one thus far.
Yeah, I think Schnitzer washes them every time they make pit stops. Everything they have is clean.
We're going to take a break. We thank Boris Said for stopping in with us. We've got a long way to go here in our... Just closing up. I wonder if perhaps that double stint is getting to Michele Alboreto a little bit.
Well, the gap was about 2.8 the last time by the line. Now less than half a second between those two cars. So Christensen certainly a man on the move. Watch the traffic here. That's where the real opportunities will come.
There's not room for 3 wide down there.
Are you sure about that, Bob?
Well, there's not room for me as one of the 3.
It's getting interesting, isn't it? You know, Hans Stuck is the only driver in this race who has actually won this race 3 times. So if Christensen can handle that today...
There you go.
Close enough to take the blue flag right out of that corner worker's hand.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there it was. Alboreto getting hung up a little bit behind the BMW in traffic. And Christensen getting a nice run at him. Going out into a very, very dirty part of the racetrack to make that pass, but making it nonetheless.
Now he draws away a little bit Obviously the quicker car of the two. Take another look at that pass. Coming under the bridge on the infield. Balked slightly by this BMW GT car. Christensen jumps on the opportunity immediately.
I like the flagger backing away.
Oh my. Oh, the corner workers from the Florida region of the Sports Car Club of America was parked on his spot, so he pitched his tent right under the awning of the darn thing. That's an idea of how much this race means to some people. While motoring around, the beautiful V8 engine note. BMW M3 being shared by J.J. Leto and Jörg Mueller. They were teammates in BMW's factory prototypes for 1999 and 2000. Won a bunch of races.
You know, we've had so many emails about these V8 powered M3s, and we had the one car in Daytona. We've got the one car here. There will be more cars. And apparently, there have been even some BMW customers have shown up at dealerships and said, I want to order a V8 powered M3. I'm ready to buy one. And of course, the salesmen don't know anything about it because, of course, the car doesn't exist. And BMW tells us they have no plans to build the car. It's just for racing. That's not to say that V8 out of an M5 wouldn't function quite nicely in an M3.
Well, it's a great looking car. As you pointed out earlier, though, it is a legal GT car because it is a legitimate BMW engine. Just placed in another body style. Andrew Marriott has more.
Yes, well, I was talking to the BMW engineer who designed this engine a little earlier in the week, and he tells me they will produce a run first of 10 street legal cars. They won't be available here in the United States because there's an emissions problem with them, and they're also going to build a number of these cars also for club racing activities. So I think we're going to see quite a lot of these V8 machines around. Also, I'm just climbing over the pit wall now to take a look at J.J. Leto, who's climbed out of that car just a moment ago. And this time, J.J. is again taking his socks off and he's going to plunge his feet into that bath of iced water. So J.J., obviously from a very cold country, Finland, finding this weather here in Florida very hot indeed.
Keep in mind, this is a man who used to compete in triathlons in his days driving in Formula One for Benetton. J.J. Leto is very, very fit with a very high pain tolerance. Obviously, he was going for extra help. Continue to run first and second. Now down in the BMW pits, the 43 car is in, and there's a lot of oil spread around the engine bay. Andrew Marriott is there.
Well, absolutely right. There is oil everywhere. It's been over the screen. Frederick Ekblom has just climbed out of the car. Dirk Muller has got in. But this looks as if it could be a major problem. They did blow a motor on Thursday. And while the brand new V8 seems to be absolutely reliable, this 6 is causing some problems here in the factory Schlitzer team. Now, one of the German mechanics here has got his hand right down into the engine bay trying to sort out what this problem is. It may, of course, be a loose oil union. And I think this could be a big problem for this car, which has been running so strongly. We'll just follow the story and go back to the booth just for a few moments. If I got more, I'll come back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Andrew. We're still with Lucas Luhr while they work on that BMW. Lucas, we'll ask you the same question we've asked of teammates elsewhere in the program. You have two very evenly matched cars. Are there team orders, or how do the two cars play off of each other? Those incredibly quick gear changes. Emanuele Pirro, a terrific testing driver. I've seen him shake down Pano's cars in the past. Of course, a driver with Formula One experience. If you're going to have a problem and you need to have it diagnosed by the man in the car, Pirro is as good a man to have there as you could find.
Well, certainly that's where telemetry can really help you, because they immediately went to that left bank of cylinders. They knew that there was something with that left bank of cylinders. He would not be able to tell in the car if it was on the right bank or the left bank, and that's telemetry helping you with that, helping you to solve that problem.
Meanwhile, on the Ulman Straight, Laurent Aiello of France continues on his way. We'd like to thank Richard Lloyd with Bentley for joining us. I know you've got a plane to catch. Good luck with the program, and we hope to see you at Le Mans in June.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
There's a look at your top 10. We'll be back. See the time remaining. Over 8 hours to go in one of the great sagas in all of motorsports, the 12 Hours at Sebring.